We are a couple months from watching the Detroit Lions play this upcoming NFL season, and with that patience comes a lot of wasted space on air. It just is. And we're in this business, so I completely understand that. Content is hard to come by. But at the same time, when you start just spewing nonsense just to spew it because you simply need content, that's where you have to be held accountable. And today we're going to go through Mike Florio's comments about the Detroit Lions and kind of what happened last year in that NFC Championship game and how much harder it's going to be this upcoming season to repeat that and eventually try and win a Super Bowl. And I don't disagree that it's going to be harder because I think everyone would agree it is going to be. But when you keep bringing up the NFC Championship game, or for at least local media here, bringing up S.O.L. like that still exists, to me, ladies and gentlemen, that is wasted airspace. So let's break down Mike Florio's comments, and I'm going to address what he said and address the S.O.L. narrative that for some reason people still believe is actually out there. And let's put a stop to all this nonsense. All right, let's start with Mike Florio. Let's hear what he had to say. It's a tough watch, don't get me wrong, but let's listen.
The hard part of getting to the Super Bowl, they had accomplished. They had won their playoff games. They were up 17 at halftime in San Francisco. That's the hard part. They failed at the easy part, holding a 17-point lead over 30 minutes of football. So they were there. And to get back to that point where they've got a 17-point lead at halftime of the NFC Championship is going to be even harder this year, because gone are the days of the Lions being the bottom feeders, of the Lions being your extra bye week, of the Lions being the team you don't have to worry about because they can't find their way from the locker room to the field, for crying out loud. Those days are over, and now everyone is going to be gunning for the Detroit Lions. It will be harder this year for the Lions, week in and week out, because they are now the measuring stick. They are the team that everyone is going to want to beat, and it's going to be harder for them to rack up those wins and get themselves into the same position they were in last year. I'm not saying they can't. All I'm saying is it's going to be harder.
Now, just to clarify, I don't disagree that it's going to be harder. Right? The Lions proved it last year. They have a tougher schedule. Okay, all that makes sense. Lions did get better. Now, what I do want to address is the bottom feeder comment, because I don't know about you guys. I don't think sneaking up on the Super Bowl champions, by the way, week 1 in Arrowhead, the toughest place to play, and taking out the Kansas City Chiefs and having a rookie make one of the biggest plays of the game, I don't think that's bottom feeding. I think that's letting the NFL world know that you have arrived. And that's why I don't look at this season as they have to prove why they're the Lions. They did that this past season, actually. And to be real with you, the ending of the prior season, ending 8-2, showed a lot of people what they can be. And then it put a lot of pressure on them last season. And they win 12 games, win the NFC North, beat the Rams, beat the Bucs. And they did have a 17-point lead against the 49ers. Yeah, that is hard to do. It is also hard to keep that lead. And this is where I feel responsible, because it is what I do as well. We make content. We're not professional athletes, but we have to humanize these guys. Who in their right mind would just assume it's easy to keep a 17-point lead? I don't think it is, actually, especially against a great team with the 49ers. I'm not excusing it, right? It's still embarrassing. But let's not act like they fumbled completely, because I'll tell you what, the 49ers, the way they played in the first half it was not aligned with who the 49ers were all year. The 49ers are a great team. You saw that in the Super Bowl when they matched up with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Lions had the lead. They should have won, absolutely. But nothing's easy about facing that team on the road in San Francisco. Nothing's easy. You know what's not easy as well, I'll bring up, is facing the Rams in one of the highest viewed national televised games, where Matthew Stafford returned to Detroit and Jared Goff faced his former team. That's not easy as well, with a lot of pressure on the Lions to win their first playoff game in my lifetime, in many people's lifetime. That's not easy, but they did it. And they did it with an underwhelming defense. That's not easy. And they did that. So I don't think the 17-point lead they lost dictates who they are. Like it's almost becoming it's becoming just annoying at this point. It really is. And I get it's going to be a conversation until next season. Like I'm aware of that. But we have to remember that they're not the only team in NFL history that has blown a lead, by the way. I mean, you even go back 2007, Colts versus the Patriots. 18-point lead the Patriots had midway through the second quarter. Colts won 38-34 en route to win the Super Bowl that year. So even Tom Brady threw an 18-point lead. Now, Tom Brady's Tom Brady. He's the GOAT. And it changed, obviously, following that complete choke job because he proceeded to win a lot, and Tom Brady's the GOAT, and we understand all that. But my point is, no one cares if you continue forward and win. No one cares. So if the Lions do what they're supposed to do, come out this year, compete for a Super Bowl, hell, make a Super Bowl, and stay relevant in the NFL the next half a decade or even longer, for that matter, and they win a Super Bowl, no one's going to look at this 17-point lead they threw this past season. It's just, ironically enough, it's the Lions. So that's why this conversation is alive. And that's why it also bothers me. And I know it bothers a lot of Lions fans. I have to go on Twitter and I see, could S.O.L sneak up on the Detroit Lions this year? What are we doing here? If Jared Goff goes down or something, catastrophic happens, that's called the NFL. That's called the reality of the National Football League. That's not S.O.L. S.O.L is dead. And when you actually think of the term S.O.L, you think of the just absolute disgusting history of this franchise. But with that, also, at least who's responsible, were the people in charge in their inability to run a franchise. Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, Sheila Ford Ham, who they have in that building, has completely erased that because now they're a competent organization. So that narrative is dead. If the Lions fall short this year, it's because they didn't do enough. It has nothing to do with this theory of a curse or, it's S.O.L. No, it's because they were bad, which I don't think they will be, or there were injuries, which are common things in the NFL. There's a handful of quarterbacks that were out last season. You know what a team I'll bring up? If you want to bring up a darling in the NFL, a team I would point to would be the Houston Texans. They drafted C.J. Stroud. He had a historical rookie year. And now the pressure of that organization with C.J., with D'Amico, which I actually love what they're doing, by the way, that's increased. And they went out and spent a bunch of money. That's a team that's going to have to prove to the NFL that they're here to stay. That's a team. The Lions did that last year. If you're going to, they didn't they threw a lead. They didn't make the Super Bowl. Well, I guess 31 other teams didn't either because the Kansas City Chiefs are the only team that actually won the Super Bowl. So, no, I would disagree with that. When you look at the Texans, ironically enough, different quarterback, obviously, because they had Deshaun Watson, but they threw a lead to the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC divisional game in 2020. They threw a 24-point lead. Divisional game, I understand. But now where the organization is, they have bigger expectations. If they eventually have success, no one's going to bring up years ago when they threw a 24-point lead. Again, different quarterback. I understand that. But if they accomplish long-term success or they build something that's sustainable, no one's going to give a damn about this past season. In terms of throwing the 17-point lead, obviously the playoff game and the playoff run will be remembered. But I expected this team last year to win a playoff game and then get bounced. I'll be honest with you. They proved me wrong. So, again, Josh Reynolds dropping passes on fourth down right to his hands, that's easy. And he made it look hard. So if that's what Mike Florio is referring to it as, the easy part was keeping the lead. No, the easy part was Josh Reynolds coming down with the football. That was the easy part. And he failed to do so. So I just can't wait for the season to get here. Like and again, I feel partially responsible because I'm in this space that people like Mike Florio or local media here in Detroit just spew nonsense to spew it because we need content. But I also thank them because it gives me an opportunity to react to it and absolutely obliterate it. But that's why we have this platform. This is why me and the fellas started this in the first place, to get our narratives out there. And a lot of you might be asking, why make an S.O.L video? It's not necessarily all based around S.O.L. This video is based around proving narratives wrong, getting incorrect information or incorrect opinions correct, holding those responsible. And that's what we do. I don't care if it's Mike Florio or whoever. But what do you guys think about all this? The pressure the Lions are going to face this upcoming season? Because quite frankly, I don't disagree with the pressure or it's going to be harder. Look at the schedule. Yeah, we know. The Lions know. But that's why they upgraded their roster. Right? That's what you do in the offseason. That's why they had another great draft. That's why they had a great offseason. Free agency. They re-signed their key players. I don't think Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are just clueless. I mean, it's actually comical to me. But what do you guys think? Comment down below. Share your thoughts. Please, I'm going to go read them because I am curious. I love reading the comments. Even if you disagree, please share why. And like the video because it helps push this video and other videos out into the algorithm. And subscribe. We're trying to hit 7.5 thousand. We're on our way to 10,000 before the season, and we can't wait. Season couldn't get here any quicker, especially when I see opinions like the ones that are out there currently, whether it's S.O.L or Mike Florio spewing out nonsense. But until next time, I'll catch you guys.